southern Indian, the Dravidian people are actually the natives of India. The North Indians, which are mixed breed basically, they have DNA matching with Europeans, not the Dravidians. This we know for sure. From biological facts, we know this. So when Aryan invasion happened, it's not very clear in history. So there was a system that was created. We know the system: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and untouchable. This is called Varna system. A system that was created based on the philosophy of division of labor. It's division of labor, not laborer. Varna system, please remember everyone, if you are intellectual worth, you shall join Brahmin Varna. If you are capable of being a king, queen, whatever, then Kshatriya, warriors and kings and queens. If you are capable or you are business-minded person, then Vaishya. And if you are for manual works, if you do not possess any of these three qualities, then you will be Shudras. And some people were out of the Varna system. Those people were known as untouchables. Over time, what happened? This is your Vedic period. Yeah, arts and culture, you will do this. So Vedic period के बाद comes late Vedic period. In late Vedic period, what happened? This Varna slowly started to devolve into caste system. So Varna got converted into caste. Then comes Manu Smriti. Manu. He wrote a law for Hindus known as Manu Smriti, so-called law book of Hindus. That created a rigid classification. Remember, initially caste, Varna devolved into caste, but even caste was flexible. It was not fixed by birth until Manu came in. When he wrote the law book of Hindus, that is the Manu Smriti, the caste devolved into caste by birth. This is the biggest problem. Caste by birth means you are not a Brahmin based on your qualities. You are a Brahmin because you are born into a Brahmin family. You are a Kshatriya not because you have the qualities of a warrior, but because you're born into a Kshatriya family. That's how it became rigid. Who is the victim here in rigid system? Of course, these people. Varna system got evolved since Aryan invasion, which over time became caste, and after Manu, it became caste by birth. In that system, these three people enjoyed something we call Upanyan. Upanyan is a kind of sacred thread ceremony. Agar aapne dekha ho, some people wear that white thread. That Janeyu, yes. That basically means that you can study. पहले क्या होता था, when you achieve a particular age of maturity, then a yag kind of is performed, then you get the thread which signifies that you can study. The problem was that only these three varnas were allowed. The Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya, they could study, that these people were not allowed to study. Over time, what happened? Shudra joined the rank of untouchables. There was no clear distinction. Initially, there was clear distinction. Untouchables were out of Varna systems. Shudras were not out of Varna system, but they were not allowed to study. Over time, what happened? They keep on devolving, and there is no clear distinction between Shudras and Varnas over time. And this class you call today scheduled caste. सबको समझ आया? And who coined this word scheduled caste? Britishers. हमने coin नहीं किया था. It is a word coined by British government in India, because Britishers wanted to give some word to this class as a whole. So they gave the word scheduled caste. So today you can say it is a constitutional term. What is the term they prefer for themselves? Dalit. They prefer to call themselves Dalit or depressed class. Under constitution, they are called scheduled caste. And Gandhi preferred to call them Harijan. So actually, all these three people are the same people. The people who were deprived, who were the victim of Varna system, or particularly the caste system. यहाँ तक सबको समझ में आया? अब there was a problem during freedom struggle. Freedom struggle के दौरान there was a clear leadership of Gandhi, who fought with everyone. So the biggest fight he had was with two people. One is Subhash Chandra Bose. It became so big that Subhash Chandra Bose left India, reached to Singapore, and headed Indian National Army. And he gave the title Father of Nation to Gandhi. Father of Nation title was given by him. And who called Gandhi Bapu? Jawaharlal Nehru. And Rabindranath Tagore ने भी कोई title दिया था, I don't know. Anyway, so this thing happened, and the second biggest debate he had was with Ambedkar. Ambedkar belongs to scheduled caste, particularly Mahar community. अब he was very clear that थोड़ा सा मैं comparison करूंगा तो please understand that थोड़ा सा we understand about capitalism and communism. We had a system in the world, particularly Western Europe, known as feudalism. Feudalism comes from the word feudal, feudal lords. In this system, you used to have something called lords and serfs, also known as slaves. A rough parallel to this is zamindari in India. Rough parallel, not exact. Zamindari system. This was challenged by a system called capitalism. Capitalism came as a promise of emancipation of freedom. They challenged feudal lords and ultimately they replaced the system. But capitalism promised freedom. देखिए, out of the beneficiary and the deprived, who carry out revolution? Deprived or the beneficiary of the system? Obviously, by the deprived people will carry out revolution. So capitalists promised them freedom. It never happened actually. उन्होंने बोला, we are freeing you from slavedom, and we are freeing you to choose your employer at your wish. So what happened? Over time, capitalism devolved two new classes. In feudalism, you have lords and serfs. Capitalism, you got capitalist and working class. Who is the deprived people of capitalism? Working class. So working class was supported by socialists. Socialists advocated the rights of working class. यहाँ तक सबको समझ में आया? Socialism, particularly, there is a person called Karl Marx, who talked about communism. Communism is a special type of socialism. Communism is not a different system. It's a system within socialism. He advocated that capitalism में capitalists are the beneficiary, the industrialist class are the beneficiary, the working class is the deprived class, and if they want to overthrow the system, they must revolt against the capital. क्या समझ में आया? Now what Ambedkar did is, Ambedkar took same classification and applied to India. He replaced few people. He replaced capitalist with the word Brahmin. According to Ambedkar, Brahmins are the capitalist of India. How? Why we never had a proper slave society? We never needed a slave society because we had slaves. उसे चाहिए ना? In that society, Western society, they do not have the concept of caste. So they had to have slaves. They have to find some justification for the people. So उनकी अपनी theory थी, the slaves are the people who are unable to take decisions. So-called theory. Because what happened when you take a decision entails consequences. And they say there's a difference between leaders and followers. The leaders are those who take decision because they are ready to face consequences, both good or bad. Those people who fear consequences never take decisions. Such people are natural slaves and they will always depend on somebody else to take decisions for them. So उनकी ये classification उन्होंने बनाई कि serfs and slaves are the people who are unable to lead, who are unable to take decisions because decision entail consequences, and every time consequences is not in your favor. जैसे you people have taken decision of civil services, what is the guarantee clear हो जाएगा? Guarantee ये भी नहीं है, clear नहीं भी होगा. But you are taking a risk and you will entail whatever consequences will be there. You will live it. If you are not daring to live it, तो आप यहाँ बैठे नहीं होते. You will be doing whatever you will be doing, but you will never become IAS. You are taking a risk, so you can become there. So you are a kind of people you can be called in this scenario as masters. सबको समझ में आया? The people who are not willing to take risk because they fear bad consequences are natural slaves. ठीक है? What happened? This classification was applied in India's context. Brahmin became the capitalist of India, and the Dalit became the working class of India. So Ambedkar said, because in current system, the Hinduism, Brahmins are the beneficiary, so they will never reform this system. The only option the Dalits have is revolution. सबको समझ में आया? बिल्कुल एग्जैक्ट और कार्ल मार्क्स said. Karl Marx said in capitalism, capitalists are the beneficiary, working class is the deprived class. They must carry out a revolution against the capitalists, otherwise they cannot subvert the system. Same he said, the Dalits must carry out a revolution against the Brahmin, otherwise they cannot subvert the system. यहाँ तो बात समझ में आई? But what kind of revolution? Karl Marx predicted a violent revolution. Why violent? For example, you are a beneficiary of a system. You will never like to give up the privileges. So you have to be forcefully removed from power. Ambedkar इसमें believe नहीं करता. That is the only difference Ambedkar had. Ambedkar said that Dalit will carry out a revolution against the Brahmins of India, but that revolution will be educational revolution. सबको समझ में आया यहाँ तक? Educational revolution. That's why he gave the term educate, organize, agitate. Educate yourself, organize yourself as a group, and then fight for your rights. Educate, organize, agitate. That was his way of revolution, unlike Karl Marx. Karl Marx predicted a violent revolution by guns, basically. Later on, guns came into play. सबको यहाँ तक समझ में आता है? अब he developed dispute with Gandhi. Gandhi was like that, I agree. एक चीज याद रखिए, Gandhi initially was resistant to criticize caste system. Gandhi was born, देखिए एक क्या होता है, I have always told you, whatever your personality is, it's shaped by society. The second you are born, you're given a religion, you're given a culture, you're given a value, you're given a gender. You're given all those things, then you start living your life according to what society gives you. Gandhi was born a upper caste. So of course he will have some biases. The biases was he never considered caste as evil. आप एक चीज नोटिस करना, गांधी carried out so many fast unto death, but he never carried out fast unto death against caste system. कभी नहीं करा. He carried out fast unto death against Ambedkar when Ambedkar got separate electorate, but he never carried out fast unto death against caste system because he was not considering caste as evil. Of course, he was born privileged. तो उसकी थोड़ी थोड़ी लगती. Over time, he accepted the narrative. So let's see what happened. This was Ambedkar's belief. You have to educate, organize, agitate. But things, आपको पता है एक व्यक्ति है who loves to have troubles, divide and rule. The way you can have in your group, you have a friends group, divide रखो उन लोगों को, so that you become the intermediary. Your importance remains in the group. So in that scenario, what happened? Britishers want to make sure that they remain relevant for India. So how they did it? They fought Hindus with Muslims. They made them to fight, and they also made the lower caste to fight with upper caste. And how they did this? They gave something called separate electorate. They gave separate electorate to Dalits. What is separate electorate? If you have voted ever, you know that there is single roll of voting prepared by election commission. It has all the names, irrespective of gender, race, religion, whatever you have. What you got is separate electorate. It means the Dalit people will have a separate electoral roll. The remaining people will have a separate electoral roll, and they will choose their own representative. A Dalit person, Dalit community will choose their MP MLA. The remaining people will choose their MP MLA. Gandhi was vehemently opposed to this. Gandhi carried out fast unto death in Pune. He carried out fast unto death. What was his accusation? He said, a Muslim is a Muslim. A Christian is a Christian. But Dalits are Hindus first. I agree, Gandhi said, I agree that Hinduism has some problem, but that problem needs reform, not breaking the system. जैसे मान लेते you have a dispute with your father. It does not mean you leave the family, start your own family. नहीं, you will live in the family. You will try to reform whatever is wrong. सबको समझ में आया? That was Gandhi's view. Ambedkar did not agree with this. Ambedkar was very clear. Those who are socially segregated must stay politically segregated. He was very clear. That's why I always told you, British Empire survived in India because except for Indian National Congress, nobody wanted Britishers to leave. Ambedkar opposed Quit India movement. He was of the opinion if Britishers leave from India, then Dalits will be at the mercy of the Brahmins. Same Muslim League was of the opinion, if British just leaves India, then Muslims will be at the mercy of the Hindus, majority. Same divide in people, the South mein, same notion was there. Except for Indian National Congress, nobody wanted to Britishers to leave India. And they used this division within India. That's how they survived. And आप खुद सोचिए, a handful of Britishers ruled over much larger population and a much larger land area. Britishers come from a small island nation called England. It's a very small part, and they ruled over the world. How? Divide and rule. यहाँ तक सबको समझ में आया? So they gave separate electorate. Gandhi carried out fast into that, and ultimately they signed something called Pune Pact. Pune Pact created reservation for scheduled caste, and the philosophy was educational and social backwardness. In Pune Pact, it was agreed. Ambedkar said, okay, fine, I will not have a separate electorate, but I want reservation for my community. Initially, the reservation was supposed to be only in politics. Why politics? Because I told you, without politicizing your weakness, you cannot convert it into strength. If you are deprived in the name of caste, then you have to casticize the politics. You have to use caste as a political factor. Then you will be empowered. If you are deprived in the name of gender, then you have to use gender as a part of political power. सबको समझ में आया? So ultimately what happened? Educational social reservation, on the ground of educational social backwardness, the SC community got the reservation. So SC and STs. STs are the tribal people of India who never accepted the mainstream. Particularly, you have a lot of states in India. आप पढ़ेंगे भी arts and culture में, tribes of India. There are numerous tribes. So only two people, remember this, when 1950 में the Constitution of India was enforced, only two people have reservation, the SCs and STs only. OBC reservation बहुत late आता है. यहाँ तक सबको clear? अब let's see what is the news. क्या हुआ? क्या चीज? MGO क्या? मुझे आइडिया नहीं क्या है इसमें. कब? 1950s में? तो कोई नहीं, देख लेना, हिस्ट्री वाले से पूछना, मुझे पॉलिटिकल आइडिया थोड़ा. ठीक है, लेट्स सी. ड्यूरिंग हिज विजिट टू तेलंगाना, so now let us see the news. During his visit in Telangana, who is Prime Minister Modi, he has announced that government of India would establish sub-committee for reclassifying reservation for scheduled caste. Particularly, he said that in context of Madika community. Let's see what is the problem of reclassification. There is a special problem within scheduled caste. You have given them 23% reservation, SC/ST combined. SC/ST have 23% reservation. So 1950 में the Constitution of India provided this power to President of India. The President of India will decide who will be in the list of SCs and who will be in the list of STs. And then who can amend this list? Only Parliament. Please remember this prelims level fact that only the President of India can determine who will be SC and STs for reservation, and only Parliament of India can amend that list, means including new people and removing old people. ठीक है? So there is a problem that few castes within SCs, same as STs, they are using reservation generation after generation. If you see the cornering of reservation, few castes, it's the same phenomena with every reservation, OBC, SC, ST. There are few castes who are using reservation generation after generation. Why? Because initially there was no creamy layer criteria here. What is the creamy layer? Because what is the philosophy of SC/ST reservation? Educational and social backwardness. It does not include economic backwardness as a criteria. So you may be earning 20 lakh rupee per month. Still you can have SC certificate and still you can apply in UPSC in ST category. SC category. You are well off. You have everything you can imagine, but still you can apply in SC category. And that is the problem. If your parents have used reservation, became IAS officer, then you will use it. Then your kids will use it. It's a cycle. You will not allow that reservation to percolate to remaining people of the community. इससे क्या होगा, few people will keep on getting powerful while the entire community will remain backward. कुछ लोग ही आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, इसे बोलते हैं हम क्लास विद इन कास्ट फिनोमिना. व्हाट इज दिस? क्लास विद इन कास्ट फिनोमिना. I always take an example. For example, the Tina Rabi person. She's the first woman in the Dalit community to ever top civil services exam. But she used reservation of SC, I believe. She had lower marks than general cut-off in prelims. If अगर general cut-off से कम है, इसका मतलब she would have not been able to clear prelims itself. How come mains and interview will come? Mains and interview come when you clear prelims. And I told you prelims is the toughest part of entire UPSC. यहाँ तो बात समझ में आया? So she had father and mother both IAS officer. I think they were engineering services officers. So her grandparents are also well off. I think ISRO में काम करते थे. So she was not deprived from any major. She had everything you can imagine, but still she used SC reservation. This is the problem. I'm not saying she is not talented. हो सकता है जनरल में भी निकाल लेती हो. That's a different thing. But nonetheless, she ate up a seat from SC community, a seat that could have gone to her community person who is not that privileged. She took up a seat that could have gone to a real backward person. सबको समझ में आया? Why she could do this? Because there is no economic criteria. यार सबको क्लियर हुआ? अब मोदी गवर्नमेंट इसीलिए सोच रहा है, क्या सोच रही है मोदी गवर्नमेंट? टू डू, कहाँ गया यार, टू डू सब कैटेगराइजेशन. इसका यही पर्पस है. What मोदी गवर्नमेंट इज टॉकिंग अबाउट इज एससीज में भी सब कैटेगराइजेशन नहीं होता है. जैसे रिसेंट में बिहार में हुआ है ना, उनका बैकवर्ड, अल्ट्रा बैकवर्ड, बैकवर्ड प्रो मैक्स, ठीक है. तो इस तरह की जो क्लासिफिकेशन है, तो डिवाइड रिजर्वेशन, दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल हॉरिजेंटल रिजर्वेशन. एक होता है वर्टिकल रिजर्वेशन, द मैक्सिमम क्वांटिटी ऑफ रिजर्वेशन. करंटली इट इज 60%. वो तो ओवर एंड अबव चॉइस है, वो तो अलग कंसेप्ट है. पर रियल जो दिया हुआ रिजर्वेशन है, द गवर्नमेंट हैज गिवन यू रिजर्वेशन 60%, 27 ओबीसी, 23 एससी एसटी एंड 10% ईडब्ल्यूएस. अब दिस इज कॉल्ड वर्टिकल रिजर्वेशन, द मैक्सिमम क्वांटिटी. अदर इज कॉल्ड हॉरिजॉन्टल, डिवाइडिंग रिजर्वेशन विद इन कम्युनिटी, जैसे ओबीसी में होता है. रिसेंट में वी डिड दिस इन अर्लियर क्लासेस. जस्टिस रोहिणी कमिटी वाज अपॉइंटेड for dividing OBC reservation in the union into communities. Same line pe the Modi government is thinking of dividing SC reservation in communities, which I believe could be a better measure. इससे फायदा क्या होगा? The caste within the broad category of SC who are using reservation generation after generation, they will be let it out. उनको क्या होगा? मान लेते there is 23% reservation SC ST, उनको हम क्या करेंगे? छोटा कर देंगे. They will have only, for example, 1% or 2%. The remaining will go to the caste who have not been able to use reservation. सबको समझ में आ रहा है why it is being done? Online people clear so far?
Yes, sir.
क्योंकि सरकार डेटा बनाने में बहुत अच्छी है ना हमारी. बहुत से लोग हैं who does not deserve to have EWS reservation, उनके पास सर्टिफिकेट है. कैसे है? बिकॉज उनके फादर अगर सैलरीड इनकम नहीं है. देखिए, अगर आपके फादर सैलरीड इनकम में है तो पता लग जाता है सरकार को. उनके बिजनेस वगैरह किसी को नहीं पता कितना पैसा आ रहा है. तो दे मे हैव बिग प्रॉपर्टी बट दे हैव EWS. ओबीसी में भी यही है. नहीं प्रॉब्लम आएगा इसमें. कास्ट ही पता लग गई, आप कास्ट कैसे बदल लोगे? आप इकोनॉमी बदल सकते हो. नहीं, दो चीजें ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट. वन इज क्रीमी लेयर, वन इज सब कैटेगराइजेशन. सब कैटेगराइजेशन इज नॉट डन विद इन कम्युनिटी. जैसे मान लेते हैं आप यादव में है, यादव इज इन ओबीसी से फॉर एग्जांपल. तो विद इन यादव सम पीपल आर रिच, सम पीपल आर पुअर. तो क्रीमी लेयर विल रिमूव द रिच यादव, बट यादव विल बी द डोमिनेंट कम्युनिटी इन एंटायर ओबीसी. हम उन्हें भी नहीं रखना चाहते. The rich of Yadav will not use reservation because they are in creamy layer. The poor Yadav who are still using reservation, वो भी कम करेंगे. The remaining caste can use the reservation. So there are two different purposes here. Creamy layer is to remove the rich within a caste, and subcategorization is to remove the caste altogether. फर्क समझ में आ रहा दोनों में? Subcategorization is to remove the caste altogether from the benefits of reservation or to restrain them to a minority portion. अब ठीक है, चलिए. So some state tried this, but of course, as I told you, Supreme Court, some state tried to divide SC reservation, but Supreme Court clearly said that the SC/ST list cannot be altered by anybody except Parliament. And our articles are 341 and 342. It's a prelims level fact. Please remember that only President of India can determine the SC/ST list and can only Parliament amend it. Nobody else can amend it. And there are some states in India where there is no SC category. Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Andaman Nicobar, and तो चार स्टेट याद रखिएगा. These are the four states where there is not even a single SC category. These people do not, because these are tribal dominated, so they have tribal reservation going beyond to 90%. ठीक है, fine है. This is, अब let's see horizontal quotas. Horizontal quotas पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट का क्या व्यू रहा है? Let's see. Horizontal quotas means subcategorization. Let's see what Supreme Court has said so far. Supreme Court in E.V. Chineha versus State of Andhra Pradesh held clearly that scheduled caste under Article 341 is a homogeneous group. It means Supreme Court की opinion में there cannot be any classifications. तो अब मोदी गवर्नमेंट if does it, अब पता नहीं इलेक्शन ईयर में बहुत चीजें बोली जाती हैं, तो we do not know करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे, but because understand it is not easy to do this, because when you will do subcategorization, some caste which have used reservation of SC are powerful. ठीक है, those caste will assert their power. गवर्नमेंट को वोट भी चाहिए at the end of the day. वादे तो बहुत होते हैं. Whether they will do this or not is not very clear. Even if they do this, would Supreme Court will uphold it or not is not very clear. अभी तक तो उनकी opinion यही रही है कि there cannot be any. It's a homogeneous group. So remember, Supreme Court's opinion till today is that SCs are a homogeneous group. There cannot be sub-classification. Next देखते हैं. In Punjab law case, a 5-judge constitutional bench held that Chineha decision needed reconsideration. The case was related to validity of 2006 Punjab law that aimed to create sub-classification with SCs. ये केस मैंने ऊपर भी लिखा है, नाम नहीं दिया था बस. So if I combine these two cases, what we can conclude? We can conclude one thing, that till today the Supreme Court's opinion is that SCs are a homogeneous group within Article 341. However, Supreme Court has expressed in Punjab law case that we need to reconsider this. Consider अभी करा नहीं है, but they are looking to reconsider. The chances is, if you take a petition to the Supreme Court, society has evolved. वही रीजन था कि some communities are continuously using reservation. यही रीजन था पंजाब का. पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कब क्लियर लैंग्वेज इस्तेमाल की है? If you see they are diplomatic people. Most of the judgment Supreme Court की आप देखना तो they always take high grounds, morally high ground, but always diplomatic language. They give a leeway to the government. They protect liberties also. They are not very clear. कुछ जजमेंट होंगे, बट आई हैव सीन अ लॉट ऑफ जजमेंट वेयर देयर इज नो वेरी क्लियरिटी. बोलना क्या चाहते हो, ठीक है, तो बोलना नहीं चाहते कई बार, बिकॉज अंडरस्टैंड. आप चाहे सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जज हो चाहे कुछ भी हो, ऑलवेज रिमेंबर व्हाट जॉर्ज ऑरवेल सेड, गवर्नमेंट इज एवरीवेयर एंड जजेस एज फेलो ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई भी इम्यून है गवर्नमेंट की पावर से. चलिए नेक्स्ट. तो सबको सब कैटेगराइजेशन पे क्लियर है. Supreme Court's opinion is, पहला तो few things let's summarize, that nobody except president can determine SCs, SCs, both at the union and the state level. Only parliament can amend the list. First thing. Second thing, So far, there is no subcategorization of SCs anywhere, but Modi government is promising it. Supreme Court's view: SCs are a homogeneous group, but this judgment requires reconsideration. अभी reconsider नहीं हुआ है. Next is creamy layer. In Mandal case related to Indira Sahani, Mandal Commission was appointed, which gave OBC reservation in India. OBC reservation comes in 1989. इससे पहले नहीं था. SC/ST reservation is because of historical depth. Homogeneous group means अब homogeneous को कैसे हिंदी बताऊं, मतलब kind of similar kind of people. There is no difference between them. ऐसा समझो. अब मैं क्या बोल रहा, हाँ, मंडल कमीशन. So OBC reservation came very later in 1989 in a peculiar political social scenario. SC/ST reservation is given for historical injustices. दोनों अलग है. So please remember this. OBC, हाँ, कुछ भी बोल सकता है, जवान है तो बोलेंगे. Homogeneous in terms of social and educational backwardness. What is the criteria of SC reservation? Social and education. वो कह रहा है कि they are different caste, but all are social and educationally backward. They all were denied to study. Homogeneous in context of attribute, simply stating. Mandal case. So what happened in Mandal case? That is Indira Sahani case is also known as. It is regard to OBC reservation 1989. Supreme Court ने बोला था there cannot be any creamy layer. Mandal case में Supreme Court introduced creamy layer for OBCs. The rich OBCs cannot avail reservation. SC/ST में कोई creamy layer नहीं होती है, but Supreme Court ने अपना स्टैंड बदला. कब बदला? यही कहीं होगा, ये रहा, नागराज केस में. In Nagaraj case, Supreme Court changed its stand and said that the ceiling of 50% shall be held. And second thing, the creamy layer applies to SC/ST too. So as of now, Supreme Court has said this, that creamy layer applies to SC/ST. Then how come Tina Rabi could avail reservation? Because government has not implemented it yet. सबको समझ में आया? Supreme Court recognize कर चुका है that creamy layer is applied to SC/ST, but government of India does not have the guts so far to implement this judgment. तो इसीलिए अभी भी SC/ST में there is no creamy layer, but Supreme Court has allowed it. Clear to everyone? Online people clear? बस यही कहानी है इसमें, जहाँ तक मुझे याद है. एक हम ये देख लेते हैं. There was a how to deal with the problem of SCs, particularly STs. The Asiatic Society of Adivasi in Bengal, they found something related to STs, equally applicable to SCs. First thing, that often Adivasis, the STs and SCs are seen as one unit. But this commission, this Asiatic Society report highlights that there is a wide variety. Some are different, other are different. STs भी इंडिया में यूनिफॉर्म माने जाते हैं. ST's reservation is a uniform reservation. Again, second, Adivasi's acceptance of imposed modernity. What is this imposed modernity? पहला नंबर तो what is modernity? Yes. क्या? क्या? Modernity means rationality. What is the difference between modernity? It celebrates rational individual, a person who questions his or her existence, who does not accept anything just because it has been given to him or her. Such type of people or such kind of community is known as modern community. बोलो जल्दी बोलो. Rational individual base है modernity. होगा, बिल्कुल होगा. मैंने कहा कोर जो है, बोलो जल्दी बोलो. Suggestion. So it has given some suggestions how to deal with this problem. पहला, let them grow on their own genus. मतलब do not impose your so-called modernity on them. Let them grow by their own mentality. That's why we provide them special rights under the Constitution. Schedule 5 state, Schedule 6 states. ठीक है. Tribal rights on land and forest, because I told you tribals have a different way of living. They do not have the concept that you and I believe. They have a different belief. They even worship their forest and land. आप environment में पढ़ेंगे sacred groves which are worshipped by the tribals. And second, tribal should be trained in the work of administration and development. Means in tribal areas, tribal should be the officer. They are from the culture, they will understand tribal's feeling more than a non-tribal person who will try to impose modernity on them. Don't impose it. चलिए ऐसी ऐसी बकैती इसमें लिखिए पढ़ लेना. चलो बाय बाय. अगला टॉपिक बाय बाय. अगला इंडिया पैसिफिक रीजनल डायलॉग. It is from international relations. So first was from political science or whatever. ये है आपकी IR से. So recently the Indian Navy Chief Admiral whatever recently addressed the Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue (IPRD), expressing concern over militarization of Indo-Pacific and fragile situation in South China Sea. So we have to discuss these two things and we will comprehensively understand. इससे ज़्यादा मत करना कुछ भी, will be a waste of time. It's very comprehensively covered. पहला, what is IPRD? Prelims level fact. IPRD, Indian Pacific Regional Dialogue, is basically a meeting kind of debate or seminar you can call. It is hosted by Indian Navy and National Maritime Foundation. Basically, it brings the people, navies of the world, particularly the country who want to collaborate, and they've discussed, debate the scenarios of naval security, something you can say maritime security or blue economy. ठीक है? And basically he talked about China's aggressive behavior, its violation of code of conduct and potential conflict of different of interpretation of international law. ये तीनों चीजें अभी हम समझेंगे क्या ड्रामा है इसका. पहले लेट्स समझते हैं व्हाट इज दिस इंडो पैसिफिक. ये है क्या ड्रामा. पहले से बोलते थे हम एशिया पैसिफिक. The term was Asia Pacific. It has been recently changed to Indo-Pacific. The question comes is why. इसमें एक चीज याद रखिएगा, हेनरी किसिंजर was Secretary of State. It is like foreign minister in USA during Nixon's time, Richard Nixon. 1970s, when Indira Gandhi went for the help of America against in context of Bangladesh war. He did not treat it as very well. He used some word we cannot use here. For Indira Gandhi. Anyway, so Henry Kissinger has said one thing, that America के साथ एक scene है. Becoming America's friend is dangerous, but becoming America's enemy. If you're enemy of America, it's dangerous, but if you're friend of America, it's fatal. Now you will understand why it is fatal. Let's understand. In 1991, थोड़ा सा मैं हिस्ट्री दूंगा, जल्दी से देखिएगा how things plays in IR. Things started in 1950 when India got independence. You had two blocks. Cold War was going on. Cold War is basically a war between two ideologies. The two ideologies is capitalism and socialism or communism. वो जो मैंने आपको पहले समझाया था. Because communism predicted capitalism exploit the working class and working class shall revolt against the capitalist class. That was their belief. So Cold War was not a war between countries. It was a war between two set of ideas. The capitalism versus socialism or communism. So this war was going on. अब इसमें आते हैं नेहरू जी वाला है, I will have my own startup, and he started his own startup. That own startup was non-aligned movement. Nehru said, I will neither join the capitalist bloc, I will not join the communist bloc. Smart move. Why? Because understand, geographically we are near to the communist bloc. China is geographically near and Russia is geographically near. And having an animosity with your neighbor is a stupidity for a friend who lives far away. America, we adopted a liberal democracy like America, but we adopted a socialist economy like China. So we are at between, and we like America more, and we wouldn't like America more. The problem was that America is a far-fetched friend. If for America we mess with China and Russia, which are near to India in geographical context, अब तो हम पे technology है पर पहले नहीं थी. So we were like, no, thank you. We will join them. We will create a new alliance and the countries who do not want to go either with capitalism or communism can become the part of them. यहाँ तक clear हुआ? So this thing was going on, but America होता है ना कुछ लोग who you say no but still they try. So America tried a lot till 1962. कभी तो बंदा हार ही जाता है. So 1962 तक they tried कि आ जाओ मेरी तरफ, आ जाओ मेरी तरफ, I am a very good person and all. But India was like no thank you, कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं हमारे को तुम्हारे साथ. China had a war with India. America helped us. America provided us weapon technology in Chinese war. Israel was also there. Things changed. जब 1962 में this was the last attempt by America to bring India to its fold. Last attempt. नहीं हुआ. तो जब आपने किसी को प्रपोज करा वो नहीं माना तो फिर आप क्या करते हैं? उसके दोस्त पे जाते हैं. So what happened is दोस्त नहीं तो दुश्मन सही ताकि चिढ़ेगा ज्यादा. So what happened? Who is the enemy of India? Pakistan. So called created enemy. So what happened after 1962? USA placed a bet on Pakistan. It is like तुम नहीं तो तुम्हारा दुश्मन सही. So from 1962, USA started to develop bonhomie with Pakistan. But US real interest was not Pakistan. US real interest was China. For example, you want to approach someone. अब direct जाओगे तो you will appear needy. So what you do is you go through third person. यार मुझे introduce करा दो. Who became that third person? Pakistan. Actually, US wanted to approach China, but China and Russia were communist country together. So US did not want to approach directly. So US find a partner of China, and who is the partner of China? Pakistan. So Pakistan became the merry-go, or you can say bypass. So US went to Pakistan. From Pakistan, US went to China, and that is what you had in 1971. 1971. 1962 में what was there? USA was with India, China, Pakistan, and Russia were on one side. 1971 में things changed. USA is with Pakistan and China. So you had an alliance of US, Pakistan, China versus Russia and India. Because Russia got offended with China. Russia was like, how dare you to leave me in mid between? So Russia was like, तुम अगर यूएस के साथ गए तो हम इंडिया के साथ जा रहे हैं. So this is the alliance that was in 1971. So this country called United States of America, it sent a nuclear powered ship USS Enterprise in 1962 in favor of India against China. Same nuclear powered ship America sent against India in 1971 in favor of Pakistan. तो इससे हमें क्या सबक मिलता है? In IR there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies. The only permanent thing is interest.
So what interest China joined USA?
China joined USA because you are in an abusive relationship with a person, so you go for affairs. Toxic relationship. So what happened in this case is China and Russia were communist bloc, but in 1960s China and Russia fought a war on border. और USSR was a superpower. China की क्या औकात थी उस समय? तो USSR beat China very flexibly, and China got angry over this. कि यार तुमने तो बदतमीजी कर दी मेरे साथ. And China was like, अब मैं बदला लेगा. The reason China went to USA was because China and USSR had a fight on 1965, I believe, on border. And because of this, they developed this dispute. First thing. Second thing, USSR में there was a person called Stalin, absolute dictator. Stalin was succeeded by another person, Khrushchev. Khrushchev started de-Stalinization of Russia. Actually, communism क्या कहता है? Communism says that capitalism में the working class must revolt against the capitalist class. Otherwise, the working class will never be free. What Khrushchev said, Khrushchev became the president of USSR after Stalin. Khrushchev said, in this world, both communism and capitalism can live together. It is exactly against what Karl Marx said. Karl Marx said communism, capitalism cannot live together. There are two systems, one has to go. Either capitalism will go or communism will go. Both cannot live together in this world. But Khrushchev said, no, we can live together. And Mao Zedong, who carried out Chinese Revolution, he got very angry. And he called Khrushchev revisionist traitor. तो आप किसी को ट्रेटर बोलोगे तो बुरा मान ही जाएगा. So Russia joined India, China joined USA. तो देखिए कैपिटलिज्म एंड कम्युनिज्म आर टुगेदर अगेंस्ट अ बिगर evil. So understand, USA did not love China, but USA hated Russia more in 1971 में, because USA considered communism as a threat. USA is a capitalist country and they are fighting against communism. Or China is a communist country, but China was a lesser evil than Russia. यहाँ तक सबको समझ में आया? It's very necessary to understand. Things change in 1971 and then we come to the present. 1991 में what happened? The bigger evil out of China and Russia, who went away? Russia. USSR got disintegrated. अब जब आपका प्राइम एनिमी खत्म हो गया तब आप क्या करेंगे? सेकंड बेस्ट पे आते हैं. So that is what happened. 1991 में USA shifted its focus to, USA was like, रशिया तो गया, अब तेरी बारी. And how it happened? Because there was a scholar, मैंने शायद इसमें नाम दिया होगा, देखना. हाँ, ये रहा, मीरशाइमर. John Mearsheimer wrote a book. The book was Tragedy of Great Powers. What is this tragedy of great powers? इसे ऐसे समझिए. You are a established power, superpower. Who is the current superpower? America. And there is a rising power, in this case China. So what is this tragedy of great powers? When there is a established supreme body and when there is a rising body, when there is established power and there is a rising power, so what happens? They are destined for a war. This is a established superpower. China is a rising superpower. China sees itself as the next superpower. So what is happening? China will rise. It will make US insecure. US will take some actions to check Chinese rise. China will take counter actions. Then US will take counter action to counter action. Then China will take counter action to that counter action. So action, counter action, action, counter action, ultimately war. This is called tragedy of great powers. It was told by John Mearsheimer to US president in 1991 में, because America was considering making China a friend. But John Mearsheimer wrote a book and said to the American president, do not consider China as your friend. China is a rising enemy. If you do not check Chinese rise today, because today you are powerful. Today, John said to US president, today you are a superpower. China is nothing. If you really want to deal with China, deal it today. Make sure China never rise. Because if you do not deal with China today, tomorrow you may not be able to deal with China. सबको समझ में? In this context, the American president, a prime person known as Barack Obama, कहाँ गया इस बंदे का नाम? ये रहा. The US president Barack Obama, he initiated a policy. The policy name is, यहाँ तक सबको क्रोनोलॉजी समझ में आई? 1962 में US tried to appease India. इंडिया के एंगल पे भी हम आएंगे. 1962 में US tried to appease India. India did not leave NAM. US got frustrated. US joined Pakistan, supported Pakistan against India. But by 1971, US tried to approach China. So Pakistan, China, and US axis came into being versus USSR, India. This two block continued till 1991. 1991 में USSR got disintegrated, and so there was no longer block arrangement. There was only one supreme power, China. Sorry, US. In that context, US thought, why shouldn't I live with peace? But then come Mearsheimer. Mearsheimer wrote the book for US president and told to the US president that China is a threat. You are powerful right now. Deal with China today. Tomorrow you may not be able to deal with. In this context, US president starts the rebalancing or pivot to Asia policy. What is this pivot to Asia policy? US said, I will go and become friends with everyone who is enemy of China. The word देखिए क्या है? Pivot to Asia. Pivot समझते हैं? The focal point. Who will become the focal point of Asia? America. नहीं, China कैसे हो जाएगा? उसको काउंटर करना है हमें. China is trying to become the focal point of पूरा एशिया. कैसे? Belt and Road Initiative. अभी आएंगे उस पे हम. So USA starts a policy on the recommendation of Mearsheimer to contain Chinese rise. The policy was that US will go and make friend with everyone around China. And who is the biggest enemy of China in Asia? India. So understand, USA does not love India. USA needs India right now against China. This is what we call buck passing. buck passing. It's a policy in IR in which when there is a rising threat, you don't want to address that threat. What you actually want is you want somebody else to deal with it. जैसे मान लेते you are going on a road with your friend club, somebody is coming from the other side, you consider कि that person could be a threat, पर आप उसे डायरेक्ट एड्रेस नहीं करना चाहते. You excite your friend, देख यार वो आ रहा है, उसे डील करो. Because you know that that person is a threat, but you don't want to address that threat first hand. You want somebody else to address that threat. और उसमें क्या होता है, कोई एड्रेस नहीं करता, and that threat keep on growing larger. That is exactly what happened with Hitler. आउटसोर्सिंग इकोनॉमिक होता है, काइंड ऑफ कह सकते हैं, पर वो आउटसोर्सिंग इकोनॉमी. यहाँ पे बक पासिंग कर रहे हैं हम. आई एम पासिंग माई बक. आई शुड फाइट विद चाइना बिकॉज आई कंसिडर चाइनीज राइस सब्स्टिट्यूटिंग मी एज अ सुपर पावर. बट आई नो इफ आई गो ऑन अ डायरेक्ट वॉर विद चाइना तो आई विल ऑल्सो लूज. तो बढ़िया क्या है, इंडिया को लड़ने दो. दैट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट हैपेंस इन यूक्रेन. देखिए यूक्रेन में क्या है, यूक्रेन में वेदर रशिया विंस और यूक्रेन विंस, यूएसए इज द विनर. Because if Ukraine win, then Russia's claim of the great power done, खत्म कहानी पुतिन की. But if Russia wins, still war में the Russia will go backward for centuries. Every war is a war of attrition. So Ukraine में it doesn't matter who wins, America is a winner. Same in India-China war. It doesn't matter whether India wins or China wins, America will be the winner. And that's why America changed the name from Asia Pacific to होता है ना, आप किसी की खूबसूरती का वर्णन करते हैं, ठीक है, इसलिए नहीं आपको इंटरेस्ट है, इसलिए कि आप कुछ गेम खेलना चाहते हैं. देखो उसके बॉयफ्रेंड के सामने उसके वर्णन कर रहे हैं, बेस्ट फ्रेंड बनके, ठीक है, क्यों, इसीलिए कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज यू वांट अ डिस्प्यूट देयर. डिस्प्यूट होगा, लड़ाई होगा, आपका काम बन जाएगा. तो सेम थिंग इज हियर. इसे इंडो करने का कोई लॉजिक नहीं है. एशिया बोलने में भी तकलीफ नहीं थी, बट अमेरिका चेंज द नेम इंडो पैसिफिक टू सिग्निफाई that America considered India as the focal point of Asia, not China. Because Asia Pacific बोलने में even China is there. जब Russia is also there. Indo Pacific बोलने में only India is there. और हम खुश हो गए, हमने कहा ये क्या बात करी अमेरिका ने, मजा आ गया, वाह. यहाँ तक सबको समझ में आई कहानी क्या हुआ. तो why the word Indo Pacific is coined? To signify India's significance in Asia vis-a-vis China. रशिया को तो अमेरिका मानता ही नहीं कुछ है. चलिए, and against this Asia pivot policy known as the rebalancing, China started Belt and Road Initiative. ये रीजन था Belt and Road का. चाइना ने बोला if you want to become pivot to Asia, I will become pivot to the world. And China started Belt and Road Initiative, carrying out massive infrastructure investment around the world, because there are two ways of conquering someone. One by putting a gun over their head, or second by giving them loan. दोनों केस में that person is a slave. So what America could do that by sword, China नहीं कर सकता. So China has adopted second mechanism. What China is doing, China is giving so much of loan to the countries in the name of development, which it knows they cannot repay. And then they will compromise with their sovereignty. Very good example, Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. Pakistan is now a colony of China, literally a colony of China, because of China-Pakistan economic corridor. इसमें थोड़ी गलती हमारी भी है. We gave Pakistan on a platter to China. You're criticizing Pakistan every second in your domestic politics. Very bad move. Never criticize your neighbor for your internal vote bank politics, because you lose options. अगर आप किसी को बहुत ज्यादा क्रिटिसाइज कर देते हैं, then you cannot be flexible. और IR में देखिए, यूएस को देखिए, कभी वो इंडिया के साथ होता है, कभी वो पाकिस्तान के साथ होता है. आप अफगानिस्तान में देखिए, अमेरिका created mujahideen who fought against USSR, and when those people attacked America was like, these are terrorists. So from patriot they became terrorists. America changes according to its desires, because America is not a rigid country. It has a flexible foreign policy, but we are using Pakistan too much for our internal politics, and we are losing flexibility. अगर हम चाहेंगे भी रिलेशनशिप बनाना, बना नहीं पाएंगे. सबको समझ में आ रहा है यहाँ तक? तो इंडो पैसिफिक क्लियर है सबको, वाई इंडो पैसिफिक टर्म वाज कॉइन्ड. अब इंटरप्रिटेशन का डिफरेंस देखते हैं. The US and India prefer the word Indo-Pacific for different reason. I told you India prefer because हम विश्व गुरु हैं. America prefers because it want to excite India against China. But Russia and China hate this word. I told you they hate this word. Let's see how it happened. Mr. Modi in Shangri-La dialogues. It happens in Shangri-La कहाँ पे है? Southeast Asia में कहीं पे है. वहाँ पे they have a meeting where they discuss world affairs. So Mr. Modi was present there. In Shangri-La dialogue, he said that Indo-Pacific is a geographical region. Indo-Pacific is a geographical region. It is not a strategic idea. मतलब he was trying to communicate to China and Russia कि Indo-Pacific आपके खिलाफ नहीं है. The word Indo-Pacific is not against you. पर उसी मीटिंग में Mr. Mattis was present. He was the foreign secretary of America. So what he said is Indo-Pacific is a subset of America's broader security strategy. So मोदी जी ने सोचा कि चाइना से थोड़ी बोनहोमी बढ़ाते हैं by telling China कि Indo-Pacific is not against you. But उसी मीटिंग में Mr. Mattis said Indo-Pacific is a subset of America's foreign policy. तो clearly इन्होंने clear कर दिया कि Indo-Pacific is a strategic idea. Modi was trying to communicate that Indo-Pacific is not a strategic idea. And to some extent, Russian foreign minister 2 कदम आगे निकल गए. Sergei Lavrov तो खुल के बोल दिए, India is currently an object of Western foreign policy. He clearly said this कि India आप अब कुछ नहीं हो, you are a stooge of America basically. जैसे हम बोलते हैं पाकिस्तान आप कुछ नहीं हो, you are a colony of China. तो Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, clearly said that India is now nothing more than an object of Western foreign policy, particularly American foreign policy. ठीक है, क्लियर है? तो दिस इज द डिस्प्यूट गोइंग ऑन. अभी वो क्यों नहीं बोल रहा है ऐसा? क्योंकि दे नीड अस, दे नीड अस फॉर देयर ऑयल ड्यूरिंग यूक्रेन वॉर, इसलिए वो चुप है. वरना बोलेंगे दोबारा. हाँ, अपना फॉरेन मिनिस्टर के नीचे है, आएगा. स्टेटमेंट क्या देंगे? हमने बोला, मोदी जी ने स्टेटमेंट दे दिया. कितनी स्टेटमेंट चाहिए? मोदी जी खुल के कह रहे हैं इट इज नॉट अ स्ट्रेटेजिक आइडिया. हाँ, वो स्टेटमेंट आया था, पर उसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट देखिए, वही प्रॉब्लम है जैसे हर बार होती है पॉलिटिक्स में, यू गिव इंटरप्रिटेशन टू थिंग्स. ही वाज नॉट रॉन्ग इन दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट. अंडरस्टैंड दिस, if every single Indian boycott Chinese product, even then we will not damage China, because India's export to entire China is only 2%. Entire China depends on 2% for India. अगर हम सबने बायकॉट कर दिया चाइनीज प्रोडक्ट को, चाइना विल नॉट बी हर्ट, पर हम बर्बाद हो जाएंगे. क्यों? Our entire telecom run on Chinese product. जो चीपर फोन आप इस्तेमाल करते हैं, इंटरनेट इस्तेमाल करते हैं. मेडिसिन यूज समथिंग कॉल्ड एक्टिव फार्मास्यूटिकल इंग्रेडिएंट, दे आर इंपोर्टेड फ्रॉम चाइना. जो आप 10 रुपए की मेडिसिन खाते हैं केमिस्ट शॉप पे, वो 2000 रुपए की मिलेगी. फिर अगर जेनरिक भी मिलेगा महंगा. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? तो इफ वी एंड एवरी इंडियन बायकॉट चाइना, चाइना मे नॉट बी हर्ट मच. हर्ट होगा, बिल्कुल होगा, बट वी विल बी हर्ट इवन सीवियर. इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में उन्होंने बोला था. अब वो बात अलग है, उसमें पॉलिटिकल मैनिपुलेशन हो जाता है. एनीवे, यहां तक सबको क्लियर है? इंडो पैसिफिक इज अ टर्म कॉइन्ड बाय अमेरिका फॉर इंडिया, because right now America is passing the buck to India against China the way it has passed the buck to Ukraine against Russia. अब इसका सिग्निफिकेंस पढ़ लेना. अब जल्दी से आते हैं साउथ चाइना सी पे. अब व्हाट इज दिस ड्रामा इन साउथ चाइना सी? तो इंडो पैसिफिक टर्म को हम समझ चुके हैं, साउथ चाइना सी देखते हैं. China has opposed India's exploration in South China Sea. In India's ONGC Videsh. ONGC Videsh is exploring oil in Vietnam. What is the problem here? China claims that this entire South China Sea is Chinese property. The entire East China Sea तो already कब जा चुका है. South China Sea को it claims that it is China's property. Based on what claim? जैसे हम क्लेम करते हैं अखंड भारत. We claim that from Afghanistan to Myanmar, from Nepal to Sri Lanka, it was one India. It was. मैं deny भी नहीं करता. South Asia is nothing more than India. Culturally, we are same. If I place one Indian and one Pakistani in America, you will not be able to distinguish both of them. We have so similarity in cultures. It's very hard to identify people. आप केवल पासपोर्ट से पहचानते हैं और थोड़ा बहुत लैंग्वेज से पहचान पाएंगे. अदरवाइज यू विल नॉट फाइंड हु इज इंडियन, हु इज पाकिस्तानी, हु इज बांग्लादेशी. वी आर सो इंटीग्रेटेड टुगेदर. South Asia is nothing more than India itself. Fine. But it is history. Why it is history? I hope you everyone remember we discussed. What is the word? State. Modern state. The definition of modern state is territory having a population ruled by a sovereign. And when it evolved in Treaty of Westphalia. Treaty of Westphalia 1648. Modern territory-based nations is a very new idea, evolved in Europe. इसीलिए तो you have a border dispute with China, because the border of India and China, sometimes we controlled it, sometimes Chinese controlled it. In empires में we never used to have fixed border, we used to have buffer zone. So sometimes our empire expanded. It's a modern empire was from Afghanistan to Myanmar. Gupta empire थोड़ा छोटा था, and remaining empire was nothing. So modern empire was the largest one, depending upon the capability of Chandragupta Maurya और जो भी था वो उस वक्त. सबको समझ में आया? You are a talented king, you expand the empire. You are a weak king, you contract the empires. Empires never used to have fixed borders, but modern states have fixed borders. So people, the soldiers who are dying on border, they are dying only for an imaginary idea created in 1648. Fixed territory, and thanks to capitalist. From feudalism, when capitalism came. Now imagine yourself as an industrialist. You lay a factory. Today it is under Mughal rule, tomorrow it is under Maratha rule, and you are confused. I negotiated an agreement with government of Mughal that you will provide me this security, whatever I will produce, I will give this taxes. Next day, Maratha captures the area. I have to negotiate a new agreement. I am very much concerned. यार कोई पता ही नहीं लग रहा. Capitalists want certainty of sovereign. They want one government, clear government. So what they decided is, over time, capitalists created a new idea. The new idea was fixed territory. They said from now on, territories will not change. इससे फायदा क्या हुआ? If I lay a factory in Delhi, तो मुझे कंसर्न नहीं है कि कल मुझे चाइनीज गवर्नमेंट को ऑर्डर पास करना पड़ेगा. आई एम श्योर आई एम इन दिल्ली, आई विल फॉर एवर बी अकाउंटेबल टू इंडियन गवर्नमेंट. गवर्नमेंट बदलती रहेगी, बट इंडियन टेरिटरी विल नॉट चेंज. आई नो हु रूल्स ओवर मी. पहले ऐसा नहीं होता था. तो सबको समझ में आ रहा है? So what we are claiming on historical ground, the Akhand Bharat, is null and void in modern concept. ये 17th century का concept है और हमारा ancient time में था मुगल empire, modern empire. By same, अगर we apply the same logic of Akhand Bharat, then the entire Asia except India can be called Greater Mongolia. Genghis Khan, he basically captured entire area. तो ऐसे तो कल मंगोलिया बोलेगा, एशिया क्यों बोलते हो? उसे ग्रेटर मंगोलिया बोलो, नहीं चलेगा. बिकॉज वी लिव इन मॉडर्न टाइम्स. मॉडर्न टाइम्स हैव फिक्स्ड टेरिटरी. सबको समझ में आया? तो सेम ग्राउंड पे चाइनीज क्लेम इज आल्सो वॉइड. हो सकता है वंस अपॉन अ टाइम इन सेंचुरी चाइनीज एम्पायर, विच एवर किंग मे कम इन चाइना, दे वर पावरफुल, दे कंट्रोल साउथ चाइना सी. बिल्कुल होगा, बट इट इज नल एंड वॉइड इन टुडेज टाइम. Because today's time we live in the concept of fixed territorial nations. सबको समझ में आया? यही चीज में हमें पढ़नी है. देखिए ऐसा कुछ है साउथ चाइना सी. तो यहाँ पे चाइना ने अपनी मर्जी से 9 डैश लाइन बना दी है. चाइना कहता है किसी जमाने में मैं यहाँ पे खाना खा के गया था, तो ये सारा इलाका मेरा है. बेसिकली चाइना क्लेम्स once upon a time in history some emperor of China control this entire South China Sea. अब this is a problem. है? वही तो मैं कह रहा हूं. Empires were big, but we live in modern times. ये modern times के लिए नहीं है. You may have controlled this area once upon a time. ऐसे तो कोई कुछ भी क्लेम करने बैठ जाएगा. So anyway, we have an agreement. कहाँ चला गया? ये रहा, United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas, known as Constitution of the Seas. What is this Constitution of the Seas? This sees UN clause. It says that every country's sovereign territory extend to 300 nautical miles from the territorial border. So wherever your coastal border is there, from there 300 nautical miles into the sea. 200 है, चलो इसे चेंज कर लो, फिर 200 कर लो. किसको? सबने इसे साइन किया हुआ है. चाइना ने जहां तक मुझे पता है इसे साइन किया हुआ है, पर देख लेना. तो यूएन क्लॉज क्या कहता है? यूएन क्लॉज इज बेस्ड ऑन द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ, यहां तक सबको समझ में आया? China is claiming South China Sea on historical ground, which is null and void because we live in modern territorial states created after Treaty of Westphalia 1648. Above that, we have an agreement called UN clause at the level of United Nations, which violates claim beyond 200 nautical miles. This is what happened because if China claims entire South China Sea, then what about remaining countries? ये जो बाकी लाइनें आप देख रहे हैं ना, ये येलो, ये वाली जो है, these are 200 nautical miles of other countries. जैसे वियतनाम होगा तो वियतनाम की भी 200 nautical miles बनेगा. आपका ये कौन सा, मलेशिया का 200 nautical miles ये रहा. ये कौन सा छोटा सा कंट्री, ब्रूनेई का 200 nautical miles. Under UN clause, your sovereign territory is 200 nautical miles from your coastal border. So because of China's 9-dash line, it directly violate UN clause. सबको समझ में आया? This is a legal problem. इसीलिए अब स्टार्टिंग में देखिए उन्होंने क्या बोला था. Now it will make sense to you. जो स्टेटमेंट उन्होंने दी थी. That's why he said that there is a concern of China's aggressive behavior we are seeing on Himalayas and everything, violation of code of conduct and interpretation of international law. इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में उन्होंने बोला था because UN clause is an international law and China is interpreting it does not apply to me. Clear to everyone why he said this? अब मलेशिया एक प्यारा सा कंट्री है, छोटा सा, truly Asia. So Malaysia what did is Malaysia took, कहाँ गया यार, मलेशिया था, Philippines took China to international court for violation of UN clause. UN clause means you have a land up to 200 nautical miles. So Philippines took China to Permanent Court of Arbitration, PCA. There are 3 courts at the world level. International Court of Justice, which is a part of United Nations. Only nation states can go there. Next you have is ICC, International Criminal Court. That deals only with 3 crimes: war crimes, crime against humanity, and genocide. It does not deal with nations disputes. After ICJ, the only place where you can have international arbitration, it is not adversarial litigation जो आप कोर्ट्स में देखते हैं. It's ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution. ADR क्या बोलते हैं, Mediation, Arbitration, Conciliation Mechanism. That is done by PCA. यहाँ पे फर्क क्या होता है? देखिए, adversarial jurisdiction that you see in India's courts, एक जज बैठा होता है, न्यूट्रल आर्बिट्रेटर, 2 लोग होते हैं, बकैती मार रहे होते हैं, दोनों की सुननी होती है. यहाँ ऐसा नहीं होता. यहाँ पे क्या होता है? द पर्सन सिटिंग इन बिटवीन इज काइंड ऑफ अ फैसिलिटेटर. वो जज नहीं कर रहा है. दैट पर्सन इज बेसिकली फैसिलिटेटिंग अ कॉम्प्रोमाइज, काइंड ऑफ, बेसिकली स्पीकिंग. सबको समझ में आया? यहाँ पे पीसीए इज नॉट अ कोर्ट, परमानेंट कोर्ट ऑफ आर्बिट्रेशन है ये. सबको समझ आया? लेकिन एक और फर्क होता है. एडवर्सरियल लिटिगेशन दैट यू सी इन योर कोर्ट सिस्टम एंड एडीआर में देयर इज वन क्रिटिकल डिफरेंस. एडीआर अप्लाइज when you agree it applies. यहाँ पे क्या है? PCA gave a ruling that China has no legal basis to claim islands in South China Sea because these rights are extinguished to the extent of incompatibility with UNCLOS. Simply stating, PCA ने कह दिया फिलीपींस की पिटीशन पे that China is violating the international law. अब प्रॉब्लम ये है कि China was never a party to PCA. ADR, फिर सुन लीजिए, ADR applies to the party when they are member there. आपके खिलाफ कोई ADR में गया, if you never participate in the proceedings, that does not apply to you. You have to accept that jurisdiction. Courts में ऐसा नहीं होता. Court if give a judgment, it applies to you whether you accept it or not. यहाँ पे चाइना ने इसे accept करने से ही मना कर दिया. China is like, I was neither party to petition nor I am a party in the case scenario. You had this unilaterally decided and I do not obey. पहली चीज. दूसरी चीज, चाइना इज अ कंट्री नॉट अ पर्सन, जिसे आप जेल में डाल सकते हो. कंट्री डिसोबे कर भी देगा तो क्या बिगाड़ लोगे आप. बट इट डज ब्रिंग बैड रेपुटेशन इन इंटरनेशनल लॉ, क्योंकि आज आपने वॉयलेट किया है, कल जब आप किसी और को पीसीए लेके जाओगे वो भी नहीं मानेगा. सबको समझ में आ रहा हाउ इट वर्क्स इन इंटरनेशनल लॉ, व्हाई कंट्री ओबेज इंटरनेशनल लॉ. बिकॉज if for example India does not obey any international law, तो क्या बिगाड़ लोगे आप इंडिया का? कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ सकते. India is a country, not a person you can put behind bars. But when India will face a problem in future, then other countries will behave same way in India. जैसे India had that Italian marine case, अगर आपको पता, some Italian marine shot down some fishermen of India. हाँ, अब India followed all international norms. Why? Because same example, currently India's 8 former Navy officers have been given death penalty in Qatar, I believe. ठीक है, तो अगर इंडिया ने उस वक्त रिस्पेक्ट नहीं किया होता इंटरनेशनल लॉ का, तो आज कतर नहीं करता. कंट्रीज रिस्पेक्ट इंटरनेशनल लॉ ओनली बिकॉज दे नो दैट टुडे वी मे बी द बेनिफिशियरी, टुमारो somebody else will be the beneficiary, and if we will disobey then they will disobey, and there is no point of international bodies. सबको समझ आ रहा है? तो चाइना ने डिसोबे कर दिया, क्योंकि चाइना को वैसे ही फर्क नहीं पड़ता, कुछ भी कर लो. तो क्लियर है. अब इसमें एक कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट आया है, सी कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट, which has been agreed by China and the ASEAN countries, but enforced नहीं है. So let me summarize quickly. अब Indo-Pacific is a term coined by Britishers to bypass the Chinese affair to India after the recommendation of Mearsheimer in his book Tragedy of Great Powers. In the context, because today USA considered China as its enemy that must be countered by all means possible. ठीक है. Second thing, South China Sea. China has established proper control over South China Sea, even though it violates the UN clause. It violates the modern principles of sovereign fixed territory states, and even it violates the PCA ruling. ठीक है, यहाँ तक क्लियर है. एंड देयर इज अ कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट इन साउथ चाइना सी. अब इंडिया का क्या स्टैंड है इसमें? कुछ नहीं है. इंडिया सेज वी आर नीदर अ पार्टी टू साउथ चाइना सी, वी आर नॉर अ कंट्री प्रेजेंट देयर. तो ना ही हम पार्टी हैं, ना ही हमारे इंटरेस्ट इंपैक्ट होते हैं, बट देयर शुड बी रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ इंटरनेशनल लॉ. So what is India's stand in South China Sea? Respect the international law. We do not take any side there. We are neutral in this case. But सबको पता है we are biased against China. That's why we say respect international law. You say things when you know it achieve the purpose. अगर मान लेते हैं Philippines was violating international law, तब हम इस सेंटेंस नहीं बोलते. We're saying this sentence because हमें पता है who is violating international law? China. So you take a moral high ground and you hit the target also. क्लियर सबको इंडिया का स्टैंड. अब जल्दी से एक क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं. ये कंसर्न है, रिसेंट में प्रोजेक्ट लॉन्च हुआ है, अपकमिंग इंडिया मिडिल ईस्टर्न यूरोप इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर, बेसिकली अ सब्स्टिट्यूट ऑफ चाइनीज BRI, नथिंग मोर देन दैट. चाइनाज ग्रे जोन कोर्जन स्ट्रेटेजी. अब ये कैसे काम करती है, वर्ड याद रखिएगा, ग्रे जोन कोर्जन बहुत इस्तेमाल होता है. बट चाइना डज दिस, चाइना एग्रेसिवली पुश अगेंस्ट द नेबर विदाउट अ वॉर. चाइना कैरीज आउट अग्रेशन बट बिलो द थ्रेशहोल्ड ऑफ अ वॉर. जैसे इंडिया के बॉर्डर में देखिए कितनी बार हुआ, चाइना कम्स, वी हैव अ प्रॉपर फाइट, बट बिलो द वॉर, जैसी वॉर का सिनेरियो बनता है, वी डी एस्केलेट, देन कम, देन डी एस्केलेट, कम डी एस्केलेट, कम डी एस्केलेट. दैट्स हाउ, दैट इज कॉल्ड ग्रे जोन कोर्जन स्ट्रेटेजी. को समझ आया? यू कम फॉर एन अग्रेशन, यू अग्रेस, यू एक्साइट द अदर पर्सन, बट बिलो द थ्रेशहोल्ड ऑफ अ वॉर. बिकॉज वॉर आप नहीं चाहते हो, पर आप ये कन्विंस करना चाहते हो टू योर नेबर that you can carry out aggression whenever you like. That's why China carry out aggression on India's border every day. Why? Because China hates what India is doing with USA. Right now, China is with USA, and India is with USA, and China is very angry over it. इसीलिए आप बॉर्डर पे डिस्प्यूट देख रहे हैं, डेली बढ़ रहे हैं, बिकॉज चाइना वांट्स टू सिग्नल. देखिए, अंडरस्टैंड, चाइना इज कैरिंग आउट अग्रेशन ऑन इंडियाज बॉर्डर. दे आर नॉट ट्राइंग टू सिग्नल इंडिया. दे नो इंडिया इज नॉट अ मैच. दे आर सिग्नलिंग अमेरिका दैट इंडिया इज नॉट अ मैच. समझ में आया? यू हैड अ फाइट विद समबडी, दैट पर्सन ब्रॉट द थर्ड पर्सन. आपने उसे नहीं मारा, तीसरे व्यक्ति को मारा. ये बात समझाने के लिए सामने वाले को कि उसकी औकात नहीं है मुझसे डील करने की. दैट इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. चाइना इज कमिटिंग अग्रेशन ऑन इंडिया नॉट टू पनिश इंडिया. चाइना नोज इंडिया इज नॉट इक्वल. मिलिट्री तो हम नहीं है. चाइना वांट्स टू सिग्नल टू अमेरिका that you do not depend on India to fight with me. India is not a match to me. नेवल वॉर में इंडियन ओशन में हुई तो वी विल विन, तो इंडियन ओशन में वी आर पावरफुल. साउथ चाइना सी में हम नहीं कर पाएंगे कुछ. अंडरस्टैंड, डिफेंस इज इजी, ऑफेंस इज हार्ड. डिफेंस हमेशा आसान होता है. अंडरस्टैंड, चाइना कैन नॉट कमिट अग्रेशन ऑन इंडिया. वी आर वेरी गुड, वी कैन प्रोटेक्ट आवर बॉर्डर्स, बट वी कैन नॉट कमिट अग्रेशन ऑन चाइना एज वेल. अग्रेशन के लिए 2 गुना पावर लगती है, डिफेंस में हाफ पावर लगती है. सो वी कैन इजिली डिफेंड अवर बॉर्डर्स. चाइना को पता है ये बात. चाइना नोज दैट दे कैन नॉट इन्वेड इन इंडिया, बट दे ऑल्सो नो दैट इंडिया कैन ऑल्सो नॉट इन्वेड इन चाइना. चलिए, वो एक अलग बात है. तो क्लियर है ग्रे जोन, कोज एंड सॉरी टैक्टिक्स, बाकी मिलिटराइजेशन. अब एक क्वेश्चन जो लास्ट हमारा क्वेश्चन है, अगर इतना ही कमजोर है इंडिया, basically Arvind Subramaniam wrote an article to ponder over this question in detail कि is India a balance against China. हम हर दिन न्यूज में सुनते हैं ड्रामा. इंडिया के लोग भी बोलते रहते हैं, खासकर कुछ जिंगोइस्टिक पार्टी, दे लाइक हम कल चाइना पे कब्जा कर लेंगे. चाइना इज 29th स्टेट ऑफ इंडिया. दे कीप ऑन सेइंग दिस. इज इट ट्रू? तो दिस इज अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव एनालिसिस. आई एम अगेन सेइंग, बहुत डिटेल्ड आर्टिकल है, इसके अलावा आपको कुछ नहीं चाहिए. Don't waste your time. US efforts to bring India into what he called. So according to Arvind Subramaniam, India-US relationship is a one-sided quasi-alliance. Why he say so? Because US is transferring sensitive military technology to India. We have signed pact with America, SISMOA, BECA, different pact we have signed. Military pact they are called. Under this, America is transferring sensitive technology to India. America is nudging companies to invest in India. आपको कैसे लगता है एप्पल इंडिया में कैसे आ गया? एप्पल इंडिया में आया because Apple has to go out of China because USA is fighting with China and American population has anti-Chinese sentiment. If Apple keep on producing Apple product in China, so Apple will be the center of hate toward China. Apple को ये बात पता है. तो एप्पल वांट्स टू मूव आउट ऑफ चाइना, बट इट विल नेवर गो टू अमेरिका. मैंने आपको बताया था, अमेरिका इज टू कॉस्टली. बाय हायरिंग 1 अमेरिकन वर्कर, एप्पल कैन हायर 30 चाइनीज वर्कर. एप्पल विल नेवर गो टू अमेरिका बिकॉज अमेरिका इज टू कॉस्टली. So what America has Apple, then what Apple will do? Apple will do something called friend shoring. What America is saying to Apple, I know you cannot come to America because of high standard of living, but you cannot live in China also. Go to India. सबको समझ में आया? Because India is also a developing country. Why American company hire Indians? Because Indians are cheap quality labor. Cheap but quality labor. cheap quality नहीं, cheap but quality labor. जैसे सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर्स में, why American company give lakh of crore rupees a package to Indian? आपको सुनने में अच्छा लगता होगा 1 crore rupees package to IIM graduate, but इससे ज्यादा they will spend on an American. If they hire 1 American, they will spend more than what they will spend on 1 Indian. और 3 गुना काम करवाएंगे. तो आपको सुनने में 1 करोड़ अच्छा लगता होगा, बट एप्पल की नजर में इट्स अ प्रॉफिट मोटिव. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? दिस इज योर सेकंड पॉइंट. America is nudging its company, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, whatever they are, to come to India and bypass China. Third thing, easing visa restriction for some Indians, not all. इसमें एक ड्रामा चल रहा है, वो अलग रीजन. डिसिस्ट, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है. ऐसा मैं कुछ भी नहीं कह रहा हूं दिल्ली पुलिस, ध्यान से देखना. Desisting from publicly chastiting Modi government for its democratic backsliding. ऐसा मैं कुछ भी नहीं कह रहा हूं. What he is saying is that American government is not criticizing Modi government for democratic backsliding in India. आपको पता है डेमोक्रेसी में हम बहुत आगे जा रहे हैं. फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन में हमारा बहुत हाई स्टैंडर्ड है. डेमोक्रेसी इंडेक्स में हम सबसे ऊपर हैं. प्रेस फ्रीडम में भी हम सबसे ऊपर हैं. ठीक है, हर चीज में हम सबसे ऊपर हैं. तो इस चीज के लिए अमेरिका इज नॉट क्रिटिसाइजिंग इंडिया. व्हाई अमेरिका इज नॉट क्रिटिसाइजिंग इंडिया? सेम रीजन. यू डोंट क्रिटिसाइज अ पर्सन, यू वांट टू सैक्रिफाइस. होता ना, खिलाते पिलाते हैं बकरे को सैक्रिफाइस के लिए, तो ये वही है. American government is not publicly criticizing India for democratic backsliding intentionally. Why? Because they need India against China as of now for buck passing. So these are American efforts for India. That's why Arvind Subramaniam is calling it one-sided, sorry, quasi alliance. Quasi तो चलो समझ गए, one-sided क्यों है? क्योंकि एक तरफा प्यार है. कैसे है देखते हैं. Why it is one-sided? Why it is one-sided? Because there is a scholar, Ashley J. Tellis, and former NSA, National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan. They are saying that America is making a very bad bet. They're saying do not depend on India, basically. Why? Because India will never participate in coalition warfare. जैसे यूक्रेन में अमेरिका कॉल्ड आउट इंडिया एंड सेड वी आर पार्ट ऑफ quadrilateral security arrangement. You have signed defense pact with me. We are together against China. So let's be together against Russia also. And India was like, no. ठीक है. India was so, smart move था वैसे तो हमारा. We should not participate in anyone's war. Smart move. But इससे अमेरिका को क्या सिग्नल मिला? That India is not a dependable partner. The signal क्या मिला? India is not a dependable partner. That India will never participate in coalition warfare with US against China unless. सबको समझ में आया? So that's why the Ashley J. Tellis and Jake Sullivan is saying that India is a bad bet of US. और reason देखिए, India still imports half of its arms from Russia. India is a major buyer of sanctioned Russian oil along with China. India frequently vote against US at United Nations. जैसे recent में इजराइल के केस में. India still refused to condemn Russian invasion of Ukraine. India had refused to condemn Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. All these point highlights, according to these two scholars, Ashley J. Tellis and Jake Sullivan, that America is making a very bad bet. That's why, and America is doing a lot of for India. ठीक है, 2 पॉइंट समझ में आए सबको. अब तीसरे पॉइंट पे आते हैं. इंडियाज व्यू ऑन यूएस से. अब आए जयशंकर जी, आप पूछ रहे थे कहाँ है. ठीक है. Former Minister S. Jaishankar has clearly said this, that we will not have a formal alliance. He is very clear that we will not have a formal alliance with America. However, we can have a long-term partnership in a multipolar world of very good frenemies. Friend enemies. The term is frenemies, friend enemies. Again, understand, India does not like America very much, the way America does not like India very much. The thing is, our interest coincides. What is our interest? We are concerned about China's aggressive behavior. America has decided to kill Chinese dream of becoming superpower. America is very clear over it. America will do anything under the sun to make sure that China does not become a superpower. चाहे उसके लिए उसे war तक initiate करनी पड़े. That is the tragedy of great powers. सबको समझ में आया? So अब this is what Indian strategists call it. ये frenemies का मतलब क्या है? According to Indian strategists, we have decided we dislike you, but less than we'll dislike China. So what is frenemies means? हमने डिसाइड कर लिया है कि हमें यूएस पसंद नहीं है, लेकिन हमें चाइना से तो कम पसंद है. ठीक है, चाइना हमें और भी बुरा लगता है. सबको समझ में आया? दैट इज व्हाट एग्जैक्टली हैपनिंग देयर. अब देखते हैं यूएस इंटरेस्ट इन इंडिया जल्दी से. अकॉर्डिंग टू पी भानु मेहता, यूएस इज इंक्रीजिंगली नीडिंग इंडिया बिकॉज इट्स ओन हेजेमनी इज इरोड्स. एक तो रीजन है चाइना. फर्स्ट रीजन इज न्यू एक्सेस ऑफ ऑटोक्रेसीज. China, Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey all are moving toward autocracies. मैंने आपको बताया था, a new brand of dictators are rising, known as soft dictators, who rise in democracies, who never dismantle democracies, but they never allow democracy to function truly. Donald Trump was also an example. So there is a rising क्या बोलते हैं, autocracy. Second, Europe is predictably inconsistent and ambivalent. Europe does not hate China, Russia the way America hates China, Russia. And why is it so? किसी को याद है, हमने पहले कभी एक थ्योरी पढ़ी थी. कौन सी? हार्टलैंड थ्योरी, रिमलैंड थ्योरी. कुछ याद आ रही है? Spikeman and Mackinder. Spikeman and Mackinder gave a theory known as Rimland and Heartland theory. They said whichever country controls the heartland will control the world. And what are the heartlands of the world? Eurasia and Middle East. Why America will never allow Russia and Europe to become friends? Because जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, if in the group there are 3 people, you are the mediator. If they become friends, your relevance is 0. America will never allow Russia and Europe to become friends. Otherwise, what is the point of America and Europe? America will never allow Middle East to unify. Otherwise, what is the role of America in Middle East? If all the Islamic countries understand one thing, together they are more powerful than divided. So Middle East can control everything. Majority of energy needs come from Middle East. They can literally control the world. But America keeps them divided. In Arab Israel, Shia, Sunni. So because same America does with Europe. Europe में America is the reason that Europe can never unify. America will never allow Russia to become friends with Europe. This is the line. Europe does not hate Russia. America hates Russia. And because of this, it makes sure that Europe hates Russia. सबको समझ में आया? This has always been the game played. ये थी theory आपकी Spikeman Mackinder की. Rimland and Heartland theory. नेक्स्ट आपको पता है जापान एंड साउथ कोरिया नॉट अ रिलायबल पार्टनर वगैरह वगैरह. बाकी फ्रेंड शोरिंग मैंने आपको समझा ही दिया. अमेरिका इज डूइंग फ्रेंड शोरिंग. द कंपनी दैट आर कमिंग आउट ऑफ चाइना, अमेरिका इज नजिंग देम टुवर्ड इंडिया, नॉट बिकॉज अमेरिका लव्स इंडिया बट बिकॉज अमेरिका हेट चाइना मोर. ठीक है. एंड दिस इज क्या था, चाइना पोजेस एक्सटेंसेंट्रिक है. तो हमने 3 चीजें समझी. पहला, अमेरिका इज डूइंग यूनिलेटरल फेवर्स टू इंडिया. Second thing, we understood that America has some interest in India, China, South Korea, autocracies and different reasons. And then we understood क्या बोलते हैं, India's interest in America, that we will not have a formal alliance. Then we saw some scholars of America saying India is not a dependable partner. जब इतना ही बुरा है इंडिया तो छोड़ क्यों नहीं देते? होता ना कुछ लोगों का डायलॉग आता है, जब इतनी ही बुरी हूं मैं छोड़ क्यों नहीं देते? ठीक है. So that is a dialogue here. If India is so bad, India is so incapable in front of China. I mean, Chinese economy is 4 to 5 times higher than us. They have military powers. They have everything. Then why India? इतना क्या है इंडिया में? ऐसा क्या है भाई साहब? देखिए weakness देखिए. Our GDP is 5. China's GDP is 5 times greater than us. 2.7 times BPP. China's military spending is 3 to 4 times higher than us. China's exchange rate is higher. In every major, China is well better placed than us. Then why India? Why? So many problems. India will never take your side. India will never go to Ukraine until unless India's interest is involved. India is weaker in front of China. सब कुछ इंडिया के साथ खराब है. फिर भी why you are giving unilateral concession to India? Something Arvind Subramaniam has said, one-sided quasi alliance. क्यों हो आप इस alliance के अंदर? इसका reason है last में. Why America is betting on India vis-a-vis China if everything is so gloomy? The reason is America is not betting on the present. America is betting on future. समझ में आया? जैसे मान लेते हैं you hate somebody, तो you want third person to entertain that person. आप किसी को नफरत करते हैं, you want to destroy that person, but you are a strategic person. आप hot blooded नहीं हो कि तुरंत पागल हो गए मारना शुरू. You will systematically dismantle. वो देखिए आपने गैंग्स ऑफ वासेपुर, वो क्या कहता है? मारूंगा नहीं, सबको छीन लूंगा, अपने आप ही मर जाएगा साला. So that is what we want to. That is what America is doing. America is favoring India in trade, in military technology. The defense agreement that we have signed with America will give us technology over time, advanced technologies. ठीक है. The quad grouping, the economic friend shoring, all these things America is doing, not because America depends on India's present, but because America is slowly empowering India for China. वही खिला के sacrifice वाली बात है. So you hate somebody, you don't want to entertain that person directly, and you don't want to entertain that person right now. So what you do is you have a third person. You feed that person, you grow that person so that the third person will fight your war later. So this is the reason America is doing this. This is the reason America is in a one-sided quasi-alliance with India. Even when India is not leaving them, India is not joining American efforts in Ukraine, India often criticizes America in United Nations. India often votes against America. India is importing Russian oil even when America says no. India is having talks with China even if America hates it. Everything America hates, we are doing it. Still, America is helping us, not because America loves us, because America needs us. In future, when China will be an overt threat, remember tragedy of great powers. The rising power and the established power are destined for a war. When that war will happen, America is preparing allies, feeding them, making them powerful. So when the war will come, America will have somebody to sacrifice. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? Why it is being happening? अब यही जल्दी से देख लीजिए. Basically, China India hard power difference बहुत ज्यादा है. They are trying to narrow the gap. They are pushing India's economy, friend shoring, military technology. The entire purpose is India China में there is too much gap. America wants this gap to narrow as soon as possible and as much as possible. पूरा तो नहीं हो पाएगा, पर जितना हो जाएगा चलेगा. So this is what we have is basically Biden, the current president of America. He's betting on India not because he wants to secure India's military support in any hypothetical standoff in China, nor it is designed to prevent India from becoming autocracy. मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ, ये कह रहे हैं. Rather, it is a calculated fraud aimed at narrowing the real and perceived power gap. सबको समझ में आया? America is not supporting India because it does not want India to become autocracy. It is not supporting India because it wants to empower India, or it is not supporting India because it wants India to fight with China right now. It is doing all this because America is feeding India to become a Goliath that America will use in future. Clear everyone? यही सारी बकायदी थी, इससे ज्यादा कुछ मत पढ़ना, बाकी आपकी मर्जी है. If you have a lot of time. This was the most comprehensive India-China relation analysis. इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं हो सकता जिंदगी में. कोई क्वेश्चन किसी का? कितने बजे तक क्लास है? हो जाएगा, 2 न्यूज बची छोटी छोटी. What is the surety that India will fight for USA when the time will come? मैंने क्या बताया था आपको? There are 2 ways of conquering a nation. One by sword, other by debt. Why India always supported USSR? Because since 1971, when we signed agreement with USSR, India and USSR became integrated together. India's entire military equipment were from Russia. India's economy was dependent on Russia. That's why it is said when 1991 mein USSR broke down, Russians were in pain, Indians were crying because we lost our support. That is what is happening. धीरे धीरे हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We are integrating with USA. Over few years, maybe 30, 40 years down the line, we will be inseparable from USA. Economically, militarily, technologically, we will be so integrated with USA कि whether we like it or not, we will be the part of the war. आप समझ रहे हैं श्योरिटी कैसे होती है? आप खिलाओ पिलाओ दोस्त बनाओ ताकि काट सको बाद में. ठीक है, क्लियर है एवरीवन? बट नॉनदलेस श्योरिटी तो किसी चीज की नहीं हो सकता है. इंडिया बाद में मना भी कर दे, तो मुश्किल होगा, बहुत मुश्किल होगा. जब 90% of your defense equipment will be American of origin or your own origin, when 80% of your economy will be complexly integrated with the American economy. If America goes down, you go down. सबको समझ में आया? And when you know that America goes down, I go down, so then you have no option but to participate. Interest, जो interest अभी इंडिया का नहीं है. Why India can take autonomous decisions? Because India is not deeply integrated with America. तो इंडिया चाहता है तो ऑटोनोमस रहता है, लेकिन इफ वी विल गेट डीपली इंटीग्रेटेड तो वी विल नो इन अमेरिकाज फॉल, इंडियाज फॉल इज प्रेजेंट. तो अभी जो हमारा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है ना अमेरिका के साथ, फिर बन जाएगा. यही रीजन है अमेरिका ये सब करता है. क्लियर एवरीवन? नाउ अदिति क्लियर? चलो 2 छोटी छोटी न्यूज बची है, जल्दी से देख लेते हैं. OECD recently published a report. It is from environment. The report is toward the report name is toward eliminating plastic pollution by 2040. In 2022, 21 million tons of plastic would seep into the environment worldwide. according to the initial assessment of OECD. So all you have to remember for prelims level here is what is the name of the report and who published it. So the name of the report is Towards Eliminating Plastic Pollution by 2040. And who published this? OECD. You have to remember that. The report was presented on what? Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Plastic Pollution. At world level, there is an intergovernmental committee which is trying to negotiate to do what? To find a global agreement. जैसा आपका UN clause है, the Constitution of the Seas. And what is the Constitution of the Outer Space? OST, Outer Space Treaty. जैसे UN clause is the Constitution of the Seas, the Constitution of Outer Space is known as OST, Outer Space Treaty. इसी तरह से we are trying to make a constitution on plastic pollution, basically. Kind of convention आप कहिए इसे. So for this purpose, there is an intergovernmental negotiating committee on plastic pollution, which is trying to find a legally binding international agreement. So देखते हैं क्या होता है अभी. It is on process. Let's see what happens. Let's see what is OECD. OECD was established in 1961 with headquarters in Paris, France, with around 38 members. अगर आप members में एक चीज देखें, इसके लिए मैंने आपको बताया भी था, of every international body you must know their membership. UPSC ask in prelims. अब इतने सारे members हैं तो of course you have to find some mnemonics. वो आपके ऊपर है. Do Google. कोई तो mnemonic मिलेगा, नहीं मिलेगा तो कुछ खुद बना लेना. Make something out of it ताकि आप remember कर सकें. ठीक है? Please remember this. But one thing you can know that India is not a member. OECD में India is not a member. And what is the main objective of OECD? To enhance world economy and promote international trade. So अब जल्दी से देखते हैं what are the findings of the reports. Because it is an interim report, so we do not have all the findings. कुछ पता है, मैं देख लेते हैं. Based on 2021 climate policies as a baseline. जो 2021 के targets हैं, keeping them as a baseline, by 2040 there will be 50% rise in the microplastics. Rather than decreasing microplastic, the chances are that by 2040, based on 2021, there will be 50% increase. जो आप 2021 में माइक्रोप्लास्टिक फेंक रहे हैं ओशियंस में, उसमें 50% इंक्रीज हो जाएगा by 2040, which is a very, 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 very bad news. And who is responsible for this? All of us. Have you ever used this scrubs, face scrub? उसमें जो beads होते हैं उन्हें माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स कहते हैं. They are very damaging to environment. तो आप जो चेहरा साफ कर रहे हैं ना, तो that is माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स. अच्छा सॉरी, मैक्रोप्लास्टिक गलत लिखा है, माइक्रो है ये. माइक्रो बीड्स बोलते हैं इसे. These are called micro beads. That exfoliating agents that is present in your scrubs, toothpaste वगैरह में भी जो micros होते हैं ना, that is used for scrubbing, they are actually microplastics. And what is the definition of microplastic? Everyone remember, microbeads are tiny plastic substances which are less than 5 millimeters. And they are used as exfoliators, which remove dead cells in skins and teeth. मैंने वो बताया ना आपके scrubs, face wash वगैरह में पड़े होते हैं सब चीजें. ठीक है, they are very damaging. According to UNEP, these microplastic of beauty products and whatever, they cost around $13 billion of damage to marine economy per year. This is the damage you are causing anyway. ऐसी होती है दुनिया. So what is the suggestion? We need early, strict and coordinated policy action so that we can reduce plastic trash by 25. तो ये कह रहा है कि real life में there will be 50% increase in plastic pollution. पर ये चाहता है कि 25 हम reduce कर दें. होते हैं कुछ लोगों के सपने जो पूरे नहीं होते कभी. ठीक है. क्योंकि ये जब बना था तो हम इंटरेस्टेड नहीं थे. बहुत सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का पार्ट नहीं है. क्या 1969 क्या है? OECD 1961 में बना है और इसमें मेंबरशिप देखो यूएस सेंटर्ड मेंबरशिप है. और 1961 में हम किसका पार्ट थे? नैम का. 1960s में we were the part of NAM and America was exciting India to join American bloc and you were like no thank you, दूर रहो. ठीक है. That's why we are not the part of it. Let's see some efforts. What are the efforts being taken? इन्हें याद रखना है आपको. NGT is a National Green Tribunal it's a statutory body. The word here is tribunal. मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया, what is the difference between tribunal and court? Courts can entertain virtually anything under the sun. Tribunals are dedicated body for a particular purpose. जैसे इनकम टैक्स ट्राइब्यूनल डेडिकेटेड टू इनकम टैक्स इश्यूज, इसी तरह से ग्रीन ट्राइब्यूनल डेडिकेटेड टू एनवायरमेंटल इश्यूज, द लॉज ऑफ एनवायरमेंट लाइक एनवायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट जो भी होंगे, आई डोंट नो. इट हैज डायरेक्टेड द सेंट्रल ड्रग स्टैंडर्ड्स कंट्रोल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. इट इज द बॉडी दैट कंट्रोल ड्रग्स इन इंडिया. जितने भी आप मेडिसिन खाते हैं, आपके जो ब्यूटी प्रोडक्ट वगैरह होते हैं, दे मस्ट टेक अ सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ सीडीएसओ. अब वो फेक होता है क्या होता है मुझे नहीं पता, पर होता है. So it has ordered CDSO that it should analyze every product that contains microbeads so that they can be regulated and can be reduced over time. Government pledge. The government of India has taken a pledge to beat plastic pollution by 2020. Single use plastic ये हमने कर दिया है. India में single use plastic is banned since 2022. Single use plastic cannot be used, multiple use चलता है. Plastic waste management rule 2016. In this we will phase out multi-layered plastic. जो आपके टेट्रा पैक वगैरह आपने देखे होंगे, वो multi-layered plastics होती हैं, उनको भी phase out करना है because they are complex plastic and they are very damaging to environment. Single use plastic is damaging because of quantity. एक बार यूज करा फेंकना पड़ता है. They are damaging because they are complex plastic. They are not easily digested by the environment, which is because these are non-recyclable and non-energy recoverable with no alternate use also. And ban the bag below 50 microns. So we are working on microbeads. We are working on single-use plastic that has been banned in India. We are trying to phase out multi-layered plastic, and we are banning bags with less than 50 micron width. Okay? Please remember that. What is the condition? All manufacturer of plastic bag will pay a fee to the state which will be used for its disposal. Under this policy of Government of India, every manufacturer of plastic bags will pay a fee to the state government, which they will transfer to the local bodies, which they will use for disposal of your plastic waste. Because जो आपका waste disposal होता है वो local bodies के तहत आता है, state governments के तहत usually नहीं आता है. Next, extended producer's responsibility. What is extended producer's responsibility? Anyone, whether individual or bulk generator, like offices, commercial establishment, if they are generating plastic waste, they must segregate the waste at source. The biggest problem in India is mixing of waste. खासकर households में, you should have 2 different bags or 3 different bags. For plastic, it should be different. For biodegradable, it should be different. For others, it should be different. पर हम क्या करते हैं, एक ही में भरा फेंक मारा. It's a problem. इससे recyclability खत्म हो जाती है. If you segregate waste at source, so what as an individual you can contribute to environment? एक चीज करनी है बस आपको, segregation. If at your home you segregate waste into types, biodegradable, non-biodegradable, plastic, then you will help environment more than you can imagine. पर ये होता नहीं है ज़्यादातर. Unawareness भी है और tidiness भी है. हम चाहे तो बना नहीं रहे उठ के, तुम चाहते हो प्लास्टिक वेस्ट सेग्रीगेट करें, ठीक है, बात समझ में आई? तो लेजीनेस भी है, दिस कैन बी डन. क्लियर? दिस इज द एफर्ट ऑफ एन इंडिविजुअल. हर चीज सरकारें नहीं करती, कुछ हमें भी करना होगा. नेक्स्ट, एंड हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस पॉलिसी? प्लीज रिमेंबर, किसके ऊपर इसका बर्डन है? CPCB, सेंट्रल पॉल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड. इट रेगुलेट्स दिस पॉलिसी, इट क्रिएट्स गाइडलाइन फॉर दिस पॉलिसी. अब इंटरनेशनल एफर्ट्स में वी हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड क्लीन सीज. United Nations Environment Program, it is a body of United Nations. It has launched Clean Sea campaign, जिसका पर्पस है to clean the ocean from plastic pollution. अब what are the recommendation? वो recommendation है reuse, recycle, reduce, segregate, extended responsibility वगैरह वगैरह. चलिए, this is what your plastic pollution is. अब छोटी सी प्यारी सी न्यूज है auroras, ठीक है. So what is it? Auroras. Recently, NASA shared an incredible picture of auroras captured from International Space Station. आपको पता है, कुछ लोग हमें स्पेस से 24 आवर्स ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं. As it flew above American state of Uttar. अब दिमाग क्या है इसमें? ये क्या होता है? बेसिकली मैं आपको बताऊं, there is something called solar flares. आपको आइडिया हो तो sun eject coronal mass. Sun keeps on having fission and fusion. fission, which breaks one element to two. Just for example, you break helium into two hydrogen atoms. That is called fission. When you combine two hydrogen atoms to create helium, it is called fusion. And both cases may release a large amount of energy. It is the principle on which your hydrogen bombs are based. जिन्हें थर्बोबैरिक बॉम्ब्स भी कहते हैं. हाइड्रोजन बॉम्ब्स में क्या होता है? देयर इज टू बॉम्ब्स. फर्स्ट फिजन टेक प्लेस. फिजन जनरेट एनर्जी which create fusions, जिससे और एनर्जी निकलती है. हाइड्रोजन बॉम्ब्स आर वेरी डेंजरस. सबको समझ में आया? जो बॉम्ब आपने अगर ओपनहाइमर देखी हो, दैट इज फिजन बॉम्ब. न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब जिसे बोलते हैं, दैट इज फिजन बॉम्ब. वो लो इंटेंसिटी बॉम्ब होता है. फ्यूजन बॉम्ब इज 10 to 20 टाइम्स हायर देन अ फिजन बॉम्ब. वो उसके बाद हमें अकल आ गई ना, फैट बॉय के बाद. द नेम ऑफ द बॉम्ब ड्रॉप्ड इन हिरोशिमा नागासाकी, फैट बॉय था. तो उसके बाद हमें अकल आ गई थी. लिटिल बॉय था. चलो कोई नहीं, फैटमैन लिटिल बॉय, बड़ा ही ऑकवर्ड कम्युनिकेशन है. चलिए एनीवे, तो ऑरोरा में क्या होता है? सन कीप्स ऑन इजेक्टिंग नंबर ऑफ particles known as coronal mass ejection that travels around the solar system, but earth is protected by shield. आपको शायद पता ही होगा, अर्थ ऐसे करके शील्ड है अर्थ के पास, और यहाँ पे भी है. व्हाट आर दी शील्ड? क्या नाम है इनका? यार मेरी थोड़ी मदद कर दिया करो साइंस एंड टेक में. नाम नहीं है मेरे को, नाम ध्यान नहीं आ रहा. कोई सर्च करेगा एक बार नाम? नहीं, नाम है इसका. कूपियर बेल्ट है क्या है, मुझे नाम ध्यान नहीं आ रहा. तो इसका नाम एक बार चेक करना. द शील्ड ऑफ अर्थ. गूगल देखना क्या नाम था इसका. मुझे नाम ध्यान नहीं आ रहा है. हाँ वो ठीक है. कूपियर बेल्ट. दे आर टू शील्ड्स विच प्रोटेक्ट अर्थ. उस शील्ड का नाम है कुछ प्रॉपर. कोई नहीं, साइंस वाले सर से बोल लेना, मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा नाम. एक्चुअली बहुत समय पहले पढ़ा था मैंने सर. चले हमारा टाइम ओवर हो रहा है, इसे देख लेना. नहीं यार कुछ और ही नाम है. चलो छोड़ो. अच्छा छोड़ो. हाँ वैन एलन. वेरी गुड. वैन एलन, यस. मुझे नाम ध्यान नहीं आ रहा था. यस, वेरी गुड. सो दोज आर द शील्ड्स ऑफ अर्थ. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज व्हेन देयर इज कोरोनल इजेक्शन, इट हिट्स द शील्ड्स. द शील्ड्स टेक इट टू द पोलर साइड. इसीलिए आपको ऑरोरास कहाँ मिलते हैं? सिर्फ पोल्स में मिलते हैं. बिकॉज दिस हीट, दिस रेडिएशन दैट कम्स फ्रॉम द सन डज नॉट रीच टू द इक्वेटर एंड अदर. It travels through our magnetic field and enters into the North Pole and the South Pole. There it excites the gases. Hydrogen, oxygen, जो भी gases आपकी उसमें है, nitrogen, oxygen, sorry, the gases of your atmosphere, they excite them. शायद आपको थोड़ा पता होगा, इस तरीके से होता है. ठीक है. This is a nucleus. These are your shells and they have electrons. Excitement क्या होता है? There is one electron here. When it gets energy, it jumps the shell. और वो उसकी नेचुरल शेल नहीं है. आपको अच्छी न्यूज मिली तो आप जंप करने लगे, लेकिन कुछ देर तक करोगे. तो व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन दिस कम्स बैक, इट रिलीजेस फोटोन लाइट, समथिंग यू कैन सी. दैट इज कॉल्ड रेडिएशन थ्रू एक्साइटेशन. सबको समझ में आया? So when this energy particle from the sun enters into the North Pole and the South Pole, they excite the electron to the higher shell, and when it returns to its original shell in the atom, it emits radiation, and that you see in the form of auroras. Clear to everyone? ये इसके पीछे की साइंस थी और ये न्यूज में था इसलिए बता दिया मैंने. क्लियर? चलो बाय बाय, मिलते हैं फिर अगले सैटरडे. हैप्पी व्हाट? कुछ सुनाई नहीं दे रहा. अरे है वीकेंड. चलिए बाय बाय एवरीवन, वी विल मीट अगेन नेक्स्ट सैटरडे. वेरी वेलकम सोहम. वो बता दिया उसने. वेलकम अदिति. बंद कैसे होगा?